the lockdown period, several organizations shifted to work from home, virtual meeting, and video calls. The uptake of e-services, OTT platform, e-commerce, e-governance has increased significantly. Therefore, the importance of telecom service has grown manifold in order to mitigate the pandemic impact. Telecom Regulatory Authority of India is looking at all the regulation with new perspective. And to share that, we have with us Sharma, Chairman TRAI, Telecom Regulatory Authority of India with us. Thank you, sir, for connecting with us digitally. Take it ahead, sir.
First of all, let me congratulate the organizers, that is the Economic Times, for organizing this conference. Continuity of public services in the times of pandemic. Now, it's very important because I think all of us have realized after a couple of months of lockdown that this pandemic is not going to go away sometime soon in near future. And therefore, we will have to learn to live with it in some sense. We must continue the delivery of public services to the best of our capabilities in the coming months. We also have to think as to how we can improvise, we can innovate, and we can sort of come out with new ways to deliver the services, because I think some of the old ways of delivering services, which is basically touch-based, going travel-based, crowd-based, those things will have to give way to the new ways of doing things, so that we do not end up increasing the load of this highly infectious disease and highly infectious pandemic on our country. So that's the broad theme, and I must compliment ET for organizing this. Now, obviously, since last couple of months, we have realized that this COVID-19 has forced us to think afresh relating to digital transformation. We have been in the lockdown, and we have imagine a situation when there was no telecom 20 years back, and 20 years back, if this lockdown was done, I'm sure half the population will come out, emerge as sick, because I think the only way in which we have been able to communicate with each other during these times is through the telecommunication, through video conferencing, and through other kinds of phones. So telecommunication infrastructure has really played an extremely important role in dealing with this crisis in many ways. We have started delivering services, for example, payment services using telecom. We have started working from home using the video conferencing. We have started telemedicine using the video consultations. So I think a lot of ways, a lot of things have changed. The way we do things, that has changed. And therefore, I think what needs to happen is that we have to think afresh as to how we could harmonize the service delivery in a manner that it does not cause problems for our country. Now, if you go back and see the interactions when we used to interact with machines like computers and typewriters and other things, basically, we used to type things. When we used to give commands, we used to type on the computer. Then came and even on a telephone, when we used to make calls, we will dial the numbers. Now what has happened is that we are using touch. Touch has become the new norm of interacting with the machines. So you have a mobile phone which is touch-based, you have iPad, iPhone, all kinds of devices. Rather, they are touch-based devices. Then, of course, the newer sort of innovation came, sound-based, kind of interactions with the machine. So you have many sound-based inputs now you can give on searching the web, making a phone call, and almost all the smart devices nowadays have these sound-based systems. Now, as far as touch-based is concerned, the COVID-19 actually, in a way, will require that we minimize the use of these touch-based devices because these are typically the shared devices. For example, when you do a ATM kind of transaction, you take out money, then obviously you touch and you press the keys. But then these keys are being pressed by multiple other people, and then you have to do the sanitization and stuff like that. So I think people will avoid touching as much as possible. So sound could be the better way. In fact, nowadays the face recognition techniques have become very, very sort of mature, and therefore one can think of a face recognition based systems. I am told UID, Authority of India, is actually sort of developing or going to roll out very soon a face-based authentication system. So rather than having a fingerprint-based authentication, that's something which I learned informally. I don't have a formal information to that effect. But the whole idea is how you can, make these interactions contactless. That's the whole situation. Similarly, you can interact with the machines like on an app-based situation. So, for example, probably you can have lifts which you can, sort of operate on the basis of mobile app on your phone, stuff like that. So that's another way of. So essentially, what is going to happen is that we need to have technologies which will require us to do the work without travel and without touch. These are, remotely. So and without without adversely impacting the kind of efficiency. That's very, very important. Now, the new areas which are coming in this process is, one is of course the work from home. All of us who work with the government have learned in the last couple of months that we can, to the most of our many of our departments which do not involve really doing things at the ground level, and where discussions and file notings and stuff like that happens. It can happen from remotely also, using the applications and using the video conferencing applications largely. And we have also realized that it is not so difficult really to use the video conferencing tools. It has become very common. For example, just now this tool on which I'm recording this message is also a video conferencing platform. So I think those things have been more or less accepted. And I think because these things involve less travel, less congestion on the roads, less expenditure, I think these things will stay with us. And even when the let's say the COVID-19 goes out, is no more, even then I think we will continue to do more work on the teleconferencing, video conferencing, because that's that I think we have realized it's very easy, it's very good, and there's no problem in that. Similarly, the schools initially they got closed, and now they realize that you can't keep these schools closed all the time. So they have started the online classes using certain platforms, and that's also very good thing which is going to happen. Similarly, there are other areas where this will be used, will be maybe manufacturing, less contactless manufacturing, and many other areas where you will find agriculture and other things where you will find that you can use these information and communication technologies. Now, obviously, it'll require a couple of things. One, it will require a very robust underlying network. So, for example, there have been 30% surge in traffic during these times, I'm told. So the obviously, and also there has been a shift. The traffic which was on the daytime coming out from the offices, now the traffic is coming out more from residential areas as people are working from home. So therefore, I think the pattern of the traffic, as also the surge in the traffic, all these sort of variations will have to be dealt with by the telecommunication providers. And I must compliment them that India the telecom service providers, internet service providers have done a fabulous job in maintaining their networks in top form and actually providing much desired connectivity. I think we have not seen any significant disruption in connectivity during these times. So I think, and their people have really worked very hard. They're the real heroes. They have been maintaining towers. People normally think that having a telecom connection doesn't require, the companies don't have to do anything. But contrary to that, the telecommunication companies have to provide diesel to the towers, for example. They have to maintain the towers. They have to fine tune, tuning of towers is required as the traffic kind of pattern changes. So I think a lot of work is required in the field, and our people in the telecom sector have done a wonderful job in maintaining that infrastructure. So that's one part. And of course, we have to further make investment in the telecommunication infrastructure to enable a connected India, ubiquitous connectivity everywhere. And we need to have innovations in that. We need to have more Wi-Fi platform, more Wi-Fi hotspots. We need to have more connected, sort of homes using the broadcasting connectivity, which is the cable televisions can be used for providing connectivity. So I think that's one requirement. The other requirement actually is development of multiple platforms. Today you have applications and you have platforms which host these applications. So what is happening is that while applications can be built, typically these applications have a lot of silo kind of built of these applications, which means that one app will work for doing a particular function by a particular company. So this is the kind of vertically integrated apps are being developed. But I think today what we require is actually horizontal platforms which can actually deploy these apps. UPI is one example. Government has done a UPI as a platform. So this hosts a large number of application providers and who can actually interact, and any bank to any bank, you can transfer the money. And as you know, more than 1.2 billion transactions are being done on this platform of UPI. More than $30 billion being transacted on this per month. So it's actually a highly scalable platform. That has happened only because we developed platform and we developed reference application Beam, which actually has flourished and actually become huge, hugely popular application. Similarly, we have done identity platform, Aadhaar, you are well aware, and that Aadhaar-based applications, there are a lot of applications which are using Aadhaar as a platform, identity as a platform, public distribution system is one of them, banking transactions, Aadhaar Pay, AEPS, as they say, Aadhaar-enabled payment services. I'm told the numbers have gone very, very large because of the, poor people drawing money using AEPS, the money which the Prime Minister, Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana is giving them. So I think that applications, those platforms have really grown very, very large in numbers. So we have developed platform which can deliver services in a presence-less, paperless, non-reputable manner. That's a great thing which we have done. What is required, however, is that we need to develop more such platforms. For example, an interoperable health platform will be certainly required, wherein one can, do video conferencing with doctors, one can have online medical purchase, online prescriptions, digital prescriptions. So I think this will actually again eliminate or reduce the expenditure and will be able to provide competitive services to the people. And of course, we'll be able to, Ayushman Bharat scheme can be, even more implementation sort of capabilities in some sense, or more strength to our existing health insurance schemes. So I think this is also another work which is required to be done. So we need to develop platform. In health, for example, we have done Arogya Setu, which is an extremely important application which can track and trace the contacts and other, COVID, which can actually help us in managing the COVID testing and COVID hospitalization and other programs. So I think Arogya Setu is another platform which we have developed. So we have done a lot of work in these areas, and I'm sure with the software prowess which India has got, we can develop more platforms, and I'm sure our innovators and people, they will be able to provide more and more such platforms in the times to come. But at the same time, I will also like to bring one more point, which is that this should not result in digital exclusion of our people. For example, we realize that while the schools which are posh schools, DPS and other kinds of public, so-called public schools, have started having online classes, we find challenges in the urban, in the rural, poor kind of the government-run, state government-run schools, where it is difficult to have this online classes have not started. Of course, some states have made arrangements, but I think those have not started, and therefore, what is going to happen is that the digital exclusion, which is there, the kind of that exclusion should not increase. We should actually, all these schemes of Digital India have been inclusive schemes, inclusive programs. All our government schemes are also inclusive. And therefore, we have to be consciously trying and making efforts to ensure that all this technology injection in the society to do things better should not result in digital exclusion of the people. So that's, I think, one thing which we have to all remember. And therefore, what is required is we need to come up with solutions which are frugal, which are not very costly, which are interoperable, and which are inclusive. So I think that is the philosophy with which we will have to work. And I think we now have to think of the digital transformation of governance will also have to be thought afresh in some sense, and probably keeping these inputs or these requirements of COVID-19 in mind. I think we have to go forward, think of delivery, think of technology in these terms. And I also believe that every crisis has an element of opportunity. I think this should not be an exception. We should really, India must use this crisis period to innovate, to deploy technologies which are have these attributes of frugal, cost-effective, digitally inclusive, etc. And we should think of even more innovative model of service delivery and governance. Well, thank you very much. And once again, I want to compliment the ET Economic Times for organizing this conference. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your views.